Good morning and welcome to 101010 at Poets House, the poetry library in downtown New York City. Poets House is the place for poetry, poets, and all things verse. I'm Dave Johnson, poet and playwright, and your host of 101010, where we invite you at 10 a.m. on weekdays for 10 minutes to write a new poem. And in 10 days, you'll have 10 new poems. This morning on 101010 here at Poets House, we are in the anthologies section. The anthologies here at Poets House are amazing. They range from poems in Chinese, poems in Hebrew, poems in Italian, poems on cooking. And today I'm looking at poems from the Caribbean. And these are amazing, amazing works. Today I'm specifically looking at a book that I just found this morning called Jubilation, poems celebrating 50 years of Jamaican independence, and it's edited by a poet that I know and I've worked with, Kwame Dawes. Kwame and I once did a series of workshops called Poetry on a Platter, where we toured the entire state of Colorado together for Poets House. It was really fantastic. And so when I saw this book this morning, I thought this would be really compelling and that we should talk about the anthology section here at Poets House and how many different kinds of poems you can encounter in this collection. It's tremendous, tremendous poems. And I'm talking about poems on sports, baseball, basketball. If you can think of the subject, they've got it. It's really, really incredible. So this morning, I found this poem in the Jubilation anthology, poems celebrating 50 years of Jamaican independence, by a poet I'd never read before. And that is one of the magical things about this space, about this library, and about actually just falling in, if you will, to a book of poems here. This one is by a poet named Makesha Evans, and it's entitled Where We. Where We. We trespass into the waters right where the sign says we should not, where the tiny white caps betray currents that could draw us down, where floating sediment paints our skin, where protozoa disperse or cling, their laziness interrupted, where submerged we cannot stand but can feel, where in washing each other we become dirtier still, and where, when we emerge, our smiles as wide as Kingston Harbor, the leaves on the coastline quiver in witness, their movements like gossip. So let's talk about this poem for just a second. The title is Where We, right? And it just leaves you there and sort of opens up in a sense. And I love how Makesha does this in this poem and then just unfolds this place where we. And so it opens up asking questions in a sense. And in the poem itself delivers in that way, where we trespass into the waters. And right up front, that opening line, we trespass into the waters, and you know you're in this forbidden territory. And as a reader of poems, that's where you want to be. You want to be in a place where you're like, wow, it's a little dangerous. You're not exactly sure what's going to happen. And so she's drawn you into this poem right away. We trespass into the waters right where the sign says we should not. And as a reader of poetry too, that pulls me in, right? We're in a place we know we shouldn't be in, and it's going to be a lot of fun, right? Where the tiny white caps betray currents that could draw us down, right? You think of those white caps in the ocean, right? A lot of fun. Where submerged we cannot stand but can feel, where in washing each other we become dirtier still, and where when we emerge our smile as wide as Kingston Harbor. And you imagine the Jamaican coastline there, right? The leaves on the coastline, she says, quiver in witness, their movements like gossip. And I love how that ends. What I'm going to ask you to do this morning is to write a quick poem. You got 10 minutes to do this in. And just open where we. Where we do what? Wherever it wants to be. And I'm going to think about this too. And I'm going to write one as well. And it can be anywhere you want to be. Just this idea of where something happens, right? It could be a place you grew up in, a place that was magical for you. Just think about it. Could it be a place you went to as a kid? Could be a place that you imagine going to. All right? Let's see what you come up with. Okay, so let's write our poem this morning. We read Makesha Evans' poem. She's from Jamaica, right? And she wrote the poem Where We, and she opened her poem, We Trespass into the Waters. Okay, I'm going to give you a few lines of the one I'm going to write this morning. We're going to just make it up right here on the spot and see what we come up with. And I'm going to ask you to make one too, right? And if you'd like to share it with us. All right, Where We. Let's see what we come up with. The Where We poem this morning, right? We mix mud pies. We mix mud pies in the dark sand in Grandma's front yard. Under the sycamore tree. All right, so this is what I got so far, right? Where we mix mud pies in the dark sand in Grandma's front yard under the sycamore tree, and you tell me you are baking blueberry, and I tell you mine is shoe fly pie. All right. Here we go. Let's see what I came up with. Where We, my Where We poem. We mix mud pies in the dark sand in Grandma's front yard under the sycamore tree, and you tell me you're baking blueberry, and I tell you mine is shoe fly pie. There you go. Let's see what you come up with. Your Where We. Think about where you are. You can make it up. You can imagine it, or it could be something from when you were a kid. When I was a kid in my grandma's front yard, me and my little cousin used to mix mud pies and play restaurant. You know, you live down in the country. That's the kind of things you do. So tell us what yours is, right? Write your Where We poem and share it with us at the address on the screen. Okay, when we looked at Makesha Evans' poem, I wanted to tell you just a little bit about who she is. She wrote the Where We poem we just shared. She was the recipient of a fellowship with the Calabash International Literary Festival Trust and was published in the anthology entitled So Much Things to Say, and was co-facilitator of the Manifesto Jamaica Poetry Workshop in 2010. Evans is a psychologist and a vice president of the International University of the Carribean. So she has a very compelling background, and this is a poet I just discovered today right here at Poets House. And so again, that to me is the magical thing about this collection and about Poets House is this discovery that happens. And this happened for me this morning when I was thinking about Caribbean poems and how I'd like to share some, and I'd found one of Kwame Dawes' collections that he had selected these poets. So I told you a little bit about my relationship with Kwame and how we traveled together for Poets House through Colorado, which was an amazing, amazing experience. We went through libraries and cafes throughout the entire state from one end to the other. And so I thought I'd share one of his poems with you from this anthology called Jubilation, 50 Years of Jamaican Independence as well. This one is an anniversary poem. You could also do a little exercise around anniversaries, right? And I think this one has that same kind of thing. If you wanted to write a poem around an anniversary and do more, you could do that. This one is called Upon Our 14th Anniversary for Lorna. We drive through the irregular curves and dips of Kingston suburbs, deep craters, cluttered gullies, cutting through roads. Ajoa's tiny car is a shelter of laughter and the making of nostalgia. We know people die on these streets all the time, but tonight we're able to forget. We spend 30 minutes making nonsense of the rituals of violence, and for a day we recall the paths of our love. The brick porch where I sang songs into the night, the hall spine I walked up to see you in the powder blue frock, your smile, the first hit of a chronic addiction I still tremble for all these years later. Sometimes home is a poem of lament. But tonight, we see Kingston as a freshly painted world of chaos, a kind of giddy playground, so that after the steamed snapper and gummy bammy, the coconut water and guava pineapple juice at the fish place on the descent end of Constant Spring Road, Ajoa's car is filled with our children, so loud with playground laughter and the sweetness of children teetering on the edge of rudeness, singing Julio Iglesias and Simon and Garfunkel. We marvel at Kekili's deep baritone, him just barely 11, holding on to each note's curve as he anchors Paul Simon's thin voice until we arrive safely, feeling groovy at West Road. We sit in the dark until the last guitar strum and our voices have settled into the hum of joy. I understand again why I love you. I love us. Kwame Dawes, Upon Our 14th Anniversary for Lorna. These are wonderful poems here in the anthology section of Poets House. Join us next time on 10-10-10 here at Poets House.